Welcome back, listeners. I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Miss Michelle Sherman. She is a psychologist and also the author of I'm Not Alone. That is a book that's geared towards teenagers. I'm very excited to hear her story. Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, good morning. Thanks so much, Robin, for the opportunity to be here. I'm so happy to be able to have the chance to talk with you. Yeah, I'm up in Minnesota. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I've really dedicated my career to supporting families in which a loved one has a mental illness or trauma or PTSD. So I've done a therapy about 30 years, a lot of research and teaching, and worked in the VA system with veterans and their families for about 17 years. Worked in academia and professor, a couple of medical schools, private practice, group practice. So really had the honor of listening to a lot of people's stories, particularly thinking about the family context, because I'm certainly very compassionate and caring about the person who has the illness or the trauma. But I'm equally caring and thoughtful and intending to support the ripple effects on the partners, parents, siblings, friends, and their children, the teenagers. And so that's what I'm excited to talk to you about today. So in addition to my kind of day job of doing those things, for 20 years, I have been writing books with my mom, who is a mental health advocate. It's really special to share that opportunity with her. And so I'll be happy to have a chance to tell you about those as well.
I cannot wait to hear about those, but tell us a little bit. I know you said you were able to hear lots of different stories. What's a story, like what's it like dealing with teenagers who are dealing with things like this?
Yeah. I think for so many of the teenagers, the word that I often use, Robin, is it's often kind of they are invisible. Because let's think about it. Let's say hypothetical, okay, that my husband tonight is admitted due to a manic episode, or my mom is admitted due to experiencing psychosis, or my dad is admitted due to trying to attempt suicide. Again, all this is fictional. All the other adults in the family just kind of get focused on that. We have to get to the hospital, doctor, tell the work, whatever else. And that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. But what about the teenagers who are going, what the heck happened? Who's going to get me to my soccer game? Where's my mom? I was just talking to someone the other day who said, when they were growing up, their parent would leave periodically just for a few weeks and no one would say anything. They'd leave, they'd come back, they'd leave, and no one would know. So for the teenagers, it's like, what's going on? It's very confusing. They can feel angry. It's like, hold on, this isn't the kind of parent or relationship or family that I wanted. They can feel really sad. So it's really sad to have a parent or family system that's really struggling. There continues, in my opinion, to be a lot of stigma and shame. So it's different, telling my friends, oh, my mom has cancer, whatever else, versus, well, my dad has bipolar disorder or major depression or PTSD or whatever else. It's a lot of stigma. And so how do you talk about it and things? So for teens, it can be very lonely. Mm-hmm. Very confusing, can be overwhelming and sad, and can be really angry. So all the feels for these teenagers, because so often, sadly, they are kind of invisible in the system. And so my mission for 20 years in writing these books is helping us to pay attention to these teenagers who, by definition, I'm a realist too, okay? We know that they're at higher risk for developing emotional health problems themselves due to both nature and nurture. So what can we do to prevent early intervention, and help them build resilience if they have a mental illness, how to cope with it, and maybe to prevent them from developing an illness themselves? That's what I'm all about.
Yes. So is it somewhat difficult for, when speaking to teenagers, trying to get them to open up because of that guilt or because of that shame that they may be feeling?
Yeah. Sometimes, but sometimes they are so hungry for wanting to have someone ask, hey, how are you? What's going on? I'll tell you kind of a neat story. I was talking to a psychiatric nurse, actually in Iceland, of all places. Oh my gosh. I know. So funny, huh? Who in their hospital, which, by the way, oh my gosh, other countries are so far ahead of the United States of America, like Canada, the UK, Germany, Australia, they are so far ahead of the US in paying attention to these teenagers. So
Uh-huh.
these people in Iceland works in the psychiatric hospital, and they
Mhm.
actually have once a month. I think this is so cool. They have kind of a family day in which they bring in the family members, the kids, and the adults, and have who are in the psychiatric unit, and have activities and teaching and learning and therapy for them together. So it's so cool. So this nurse who runs this program was saying she has some books for the little children, like My Mommy is Sad or whatever else, but she said there's been nothing for these teenagers. So she said, and this is not confidential, I mean, it's all anonymous. She said there was a teenager
Mhm.
who was in her groups, and this nurse gave her one of our new books, this I'm Not Alone. And this girl just grinned ear to ear saying, this is for me? So there's been
Yeah.
nothing like this for me. I mean, there are books like If My Mom Has Dementia, My Mommy Has Cancer, things like that. But
Mhm.
there's nothing, Robin, nothing for teens whose parent has a mental illness. And we know, 1 in 5 kids has a parent with mental illness. So this is a huge gap, Robin, a
Right.
huge gap in the resources. So it touches my heart, honestly, to hear that, oh, maybe we can actually try to reach some of these kids who are so often invisible.
Absolutely. And I love hearing that. So,
Yeah.
Michelle, tell me a little bit about the book that you and your
Yeah.
mother are co-authors on.
Yeah, so this is the second edition. So we wrote the first one literally 20 years ago. Oh my gosh, so much has changed since that
Yeah.
time. But yeah, it's intentionally interactive, Robin. So it's not like this is depression. I mean, you can Google
Right.
that right now, and we think teens are so much more savvy now. They have such a more sophisticated knowledge of mental health than they did 20 years ago. So yeah, there's certainly some information, that's important. Overlap of alcohol and drugs, role of trauma, all that stuff. What's a psychiatrist versus psychologist? There's some of that, but mostly it's interactive. So the
Mhm.
first part is kind of information. And the second part is all about what are your thoughts, your feelings, who's your support system?
Mhm.
How do you talk to friends? How do you deal with stigma? How do you deal with when your parent has a crisis? So they're like stories from real kids who've experienced it. They're
Yeah.
interactive activities. They're research-based skills that they get to kind of practice and write and try these sorts of things. And then the
Okay.
third part is all about growing resilience. There's some really cool recent research, Robin, has looked at ways in which kids can actually do specific things, and I'll tell you what they are in a second, that may prevent the development of mental illness. And then if they do have it, that they may be less intense. So it's like if I'm a kid and my mom has schizophrenia or something, I'm like, I am so scared that I'm going to be like that. And again, you can only have so much control of it, but I know I'm at higher risk. Are there actually some things I can do? And the answer is yes, which
Okay.
is we hope to be empowering. So the things are things like we know this, Robin, but research show these things actually help. Getting enough sleep, a hard thing
Mhm.
for many people, including teenagers. Healthy diet, staying socially connected. Social isolation is deadly.
Mhm.
It is so important to be connected with others. Regular exercise, minimizing or staying away from substances. All these sorts of things actually can make a difference in terms of one's mental health. So we are very empowering. So it's interactive activities, reflection, stories from real kids, and very much an empowering spirit. These are steps that you can take today to help your own mental health.
Nice. So, in your opinion, Michelle, do you feel that ever since this pandemic, the COVID
Yeah.
that started, do you feel that teenagers have been struggling a little bit more internally?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some research showing that there's been an increase in depression and anxiety. I mean, it's hard, Robin, because at the same time, there have been so many other things happening. I mean, the huge rise in school violence, community violence, you
Yeah.
know, um, cyberbullying, all the political events that are going on. It's hard to tease apart what is COVID versus what is other sorts of
Right.
things because there's so many influences going on. But yeah, sadly, we absolutely have an increase in mental health problems among teens, and so um, we need to get ahead of that. And that's my whole thesis, Robin, is I'm all about prevention. It's hard to get money or funding or people paying attention because we are in a reactive space. We're like, okay, you're sick. What am I going to do? Hey, folks, if we can start intervening early, they may not be the next people in our mental health clinic waiting rooms.
Right.
So it's all about going upstream. How can
Right.
we prevent these sorts of things? And then again, if they are having difficulties, how can we maybe help at a lower level before it gets to a really crisis sort of point?
Right, because that's what it definitely seems like. Because I know us, just as a whole in humanity, we like to
Mhm.
internalize a
Yeah.
lot of things, and then things are they just come at our fingertips where we can go on YouTube or do this, do that.
Right.
So trying to navigate through these emotions and try to channel these emotions, that can't be easy. It's not easy for adults, but it definitely can't be easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And there's obviously a lot of great information on
Mhm.
YouTube and social media and TikTok and all this stuff. But there's also some concerning information. I mean, you
Yes.
can find all sorts of stuff about how to have an eating disorder. I mean, all sorts of stuff. So I get a little nervous
Mhm.
when I think about the kind of reliance
Yeah.
on social media, but I know that's where a lot of people turn. So it's hard just trying to find reputable sources by people who giving information that seems right and seems consistent with other themes that you've heard. Yeah, or they're from like a reputable institution, they're from a university or things like that, or they've written books. Just make sure the people that are talking have credibility. And or if you're listening to someone who has personal experience, which again, fictional. I'm a 16-year-old. That's very fictional. And I have PTSD or whatever else. Okay, listen to that. That's great. Good to get their experience. But remember, that's not going to be everyone's experience. And it may not
Right.
be your experience too.
Mhm. So what I think, Michelle, is so basically your book, it gears towards being more self-driven, because I feel when we look at a social media, it's
Right.
more you get caught in the technique of what may work for someone else may not
Right.
work for you. But your book is it kind of gears towards being more self-driven and them trying to do the exercises themselves.
Yeah, and figuring out what works for them. And frankly, we
Mhm.
also think that the book is helpful for the adults because sometimes the adults don't know how to open the conversations. They don't know
Right.
what to say or what to ask. So very commonly, the adult will read the book kind of first for a long time, not reading the teen's narrative or writing, of course, but it'll
Mhm.
help them know how to talk to their teen. Maybe they haven't even thought about the issue of how is my kid talking to their friends? Maybe my kid hasn't thought about that. They really want to get into advocacy and address stigma, or maybe they don't really realize how isolated their child is. And so how could we help connect them with someone? And so it's a great vehicle or tool for the adults as well as the teenagers. It can also be used as a basis for a support group. We've had some people use it as kind of a curriculum for a therapy group because obviously there are set chapters. So it can be used a lot of different ways. But yeah, it is written for the teenager.
And what was you said this is the second edition? I'm not
Yeah,
alone. What
yeah.
was the first edition?
Yeah, it was written, like I said, in 2005 with the same name. I'm Not Alone, A Teen's
Oh,
Guide to
okay.
Live with a Parent Who Has a Mental Illness or has experienced trauma. Kind of a long title, I know, but we tried it to be descriptive. So yeah, it was similar, but a lot's changed. Even the examples, um, all the new research on resilience, focus more on trauma. So yeah, it is. This book is much more sophisticated, I would say, than the 2005 book because we've come a long ways since then.
And what started your journey of you guys co-writing this book?
Yeah, that's a great story. So we were on vacation in northern Minnesota.
Mhm.
And I said to my mom, "Hey, do you want to write a book?" And her answer, Robin, was so sweet. It was so motherly. She said, "Anything with you, darling."
Oh, yeah.
Mom, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we've been doing this a long time. We actually wrote 3 books in the mid 2000s, and we kind of
Mhm.
took a break. And then, right at the beginning of COVID, I said, "Hey, Mom, do you want to write another book?" And so we updated this teen one. And then we also just last month released a book for adults who love someone with mental illness or experience trauma. That's called Loving Someone with a Mental Illness or History of Trauma: Skills, Hope, and Strength for Your
Mhm.
Journey. That one was published by Johns Hopkins
Mhm.
University Press. And so that one is also interactive. It's not just all facts, but it's research based skills of
Right.
how to support someone living with mental illness or trauma. So we have an adult one and a teenager one.
Nice. So what started this at this avenue of becoming a psychologist?
Oh,
What
yeah.
in your childhood or even adulthood did you decide that that's what
Oh
you were?
yeah. So I was a math major. Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
And I
Oh,
got to I got to linear algebra, Robin. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I don't understand this. And so I switched. And honestly, throughout my life, I've been involved in psychological sort of things, volunteering back as a kid, as a candy striper at a hospital, to when I was in college. And a really
Uh,
cool opportunity. I worked as an advocate at the hospital when someone would be come in and had a sexual assault. And so I would go in and be by their side and advocate and supporting them. I started actually the first ever support group on campus. I went to University of Notre Dame, first
mhm.
support group for people who've experienced sexual trauma. And so got to do some kind of cool things like that. And it was really validating that, yeah, this is what I want to do. And so they continued on in my career. The way I got focused in this area was I was just early in the mid 1990s in the VA hospital where I was working, and just struck by all the families in the waiting room. It's like,
Mhm.
wow, okay, their veteran goes in for their quick appointment, they come back, and we have all these people here, parents, partners, siblings, friends, children, with such commonality, Robin, of needs,
Mhm.
such similar confusion, sense of being lonely and isolated, anger. And I'm
Yeah.
like, we need to do something for them. So I got my very first tiny grant for $3,000, woohoo, in the mid 1990s. And I started creating curriculum,
Yes.
the family
Wow.
education curriculum, to bring
Mhm.
these family members together. And that's how it all started. I will humbly say that some of these curriculum got rolled out nationally in the VA system as kind of best practices.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool being in the right place at the right time and being focused on something. And so it's really been an honor to be part of something that has really grown. And so that's where it started, actually, in those VA waiting rooms. I will also very quickly add that I have numerous family members who live with mental illness as well. So it is very much a personal passion. And there have been a couple suicides in my family. And so I come from not only a professional, but a personal hat that drives, that sustains, that motivates, that makes this very relevant to me.
Yeah.
This is hard. Loving someone with mental illness is hard and difficult. And so I absolutely bring my personal passion as well as my professional one.
I love that. So, you as a psychologist, Michelle, how do you recharge when you are helping everyone? You're helping so many. What do you do to help yourself?
Well, I was just going to show, actually, I've got a puppy right at my foot, but he's sleeping. So,
Uh-huh.
spending time with my puppy, spending time with my family.
Yes.
I'm a huge proponent of exercise, Robin. I mean, I
Yeah.
mentioned it a moment ago, but I try to practice what I preach. I don't know, not always
Yes.
successful, but I'm pretty faithful about exercise every day. Relaxing, reading, time with friends and family. And so, yeah, I can't carry that heaviness into my personal life. Otherwise, I won't be good for the people that I serve. I also find a variety of activities to be helpful. So if I did like 40 hours of therapy a week, I couldn't handle it. It's too much. So I only
Yeah.
see about 20 clients a week, and I do writing, I do research, I do teaching. So the variety really helps me and my well-being.
That's good. And what would you say, like, the best way to, I guess, overcome some of the internalizing so many things and trying to find someone to speak to? Like, what's the best, do you feel, in your opinion, that it's best to talk to someone that you don't know, or that it may be best, I mean, I guess that's situational,
Yeah,
but when they're dealing with so many things internally,
right.
it's like, who do you go to? How do you find, like, where do you
Such a
turn? Where do
great
you help
question,
them?
Robin. It's so hard. It's so
Yeah.
hard. And for some people, they are going to feel more comfortable talking to a partner, a parent, a clergy member, a
Hmm.
friend. And for some people, that's really going to feel right. For others, really finding someone totally objective who
Yeah.
doesn't know you, doesn't know your family, is really going to feel like a safer, better, a better match. And so I often say, try. And some people find support groups. There's a
Mhm.
huge growth in what we call peer support personnel, which are people who have experienced mental illness or trauma, are doing well themselves, and then they're kind of not doing therapy, but providing a listening ear.
Yeah.
Support groups. I mean, there are so many different things. So I say try, see what works, see what feels right and good to you. If that doesn't work, try something different. And often it's both. It's
Mhm.
not either or, but kind of trying. And I would also want to quickly add that if you go to a therapist and you don't like or connect, go to someone else. The good news
Mhm.
is there are lots of therapists out there, and it's all about relationship. It's all
Yeah.
about if you feel connected, cared about, heard, understood, appreciate your cultural beliefs, your background. That is so important. Honestly, just as important as the letters after their name. Now, of course, I think training is essential and a license and all those good things, but it's all about the connection. So finding someone that you trust.
And then what about for those who maybe feel as though they can't afford therapy?
Yeah.
What other resources are out there for them?
Yeah, it's so hard, Robin, isn't it? Because therapies can be darn expensive. It's really
Mhm.
difficult. So, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is in every state and has most large cities have affiliates. They have free support groups, both for the person with the illness and for the family members and friends.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're in person, sometimes they're virtual, but I would absolutely encourage someone to check with their state's NAMI. Just Google, NAMI and in your state. So I would suggest that. B, ask them what are maybe local or free resources. For example, in the Twin Cities where I live, this is just Minnesota, there's an organization called Walk-In Counseling. You don't need an appointment. You don't need insurance. You don't even need to use your full name. You can just go in and have free counseling. Again, that's not everywhere. The other strong recommendation I give is to check your city to see if you have any sort of college or university. Oftentimes, psychology or psychiatry training programs will have training clinics.
Mhm.
Often they have free or low cost counseling for the community that can make it much more affordable. That can be another in that people don't necessarily think about. So
Yeah.
those are some options. But at the same time, I'll say, gosh, it's hard. It can be really hard, and
Mhm.
cost is such a barrier for so many people. So some clinics have sliding scales to make it kind of more affordable, but I will readily admit it's difficult.
Yes. So, and tell us again, what was the name of your book, Michelle?
The one for teens is I'm Not Alone, a teen's guide to living with a parent who has a mental illness or history of trauma. Then the one for adults is loving someone with a mental illness or history of trauma, skills, hope, and strength for your journey.
Loving someone with mental illness. And I
Yes.
know that can be pretty difficult as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Um, with that, because I know I have a family member of mine that's going through that personally,
Yeah.
and they're dealing with or trying to cope with dementia. Is
Oh, yeah.
there? Do we kind of touch base on that in that specific book on how to kind of cope with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. That dementia and eating disorders and OCD are three that I don't specifically look at because the family dynamics can be different. Now,
Okay.
having said that, there's a lot of overlap of many of the skills, the emotions, and things, but I don't specifically go into dementia
Mhm.
because it's somewhat different. However, the experience is hard. I mean, the good news about that is most communities have, again, free support groups and things like that for caregivers. So there tend to be more resources for dementia than for mental illness, actually. But gosh, it's hard on so many levels, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is, especially with the sundowning and
Yes. Yeah.
then being in a memory care facility. It's a lot to
It's a
kind of.
lot.
Yes.
And Robin, one of the huge themes I would say that's very overlapping with dementia is the necessity
Mhm.
of family members carving out time, energy, resources for themselves. Because
Yes.
if we give all of ourselves to our loved one, visiting, every day, um, distancing from our friends and family, not going to our yoga class because we're worried about our family member, not going out with friends because after all, my husband's home drunk on the couch.
Mhm.
If we stop those things, we're not going to, as we said a few minutes ago, be able to be good caregivers for the self. And we're going to get depressed. We're
Right.
going to get anxious. And that's not going to be helpful for anyone. So I talk about, needing to fill our own cup. So be it
Mhm.
dementia, be it trauma, be it whatever else. Oh, setting those boundaries. Now we have a whole chapter actually in the book for adults all about setting limits because it's hard. People
Yeah.
often feel guilty. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't leave them and what they need me and all this sort of stuff. So it's huge, but that for all caregivers, being able to set limits and do self-care is incredibly important.
And you just said about boundaries. What would you say, or what, in your opinion, what would you suggest is the best way to set strict boundaries and not be so flexible? Because I know it's easy to fall into having boundaries that you just kind of are lenient on creating those boundaries.
Yeah, it's so hard. Because as just like with parenting, right? It's a similar sort of thing. If we set a boundary and then it's like, oh, well, it's okay this time,
Right.
they're going to believe that, oh, they don't really mean it.
Exactly.
And so it's like, okay, I have to set it and be consistent. I actually recommend setting and communicating the boundary in advance. So not at the time, excuse me, for example, no drugs in the house. Okay. So you don't say that the minute that you see them bringing weed in or smoking weed in their bedroom, you say to them, I'm going to let you know, this is kind of our family rule or household rule. It's not okay to have cocaine in the house. If you choose to do that, this is going to be the consequence, whatever it may be. But don't do that in the middle of a fight or a conflict. And then every time that happens, and what I teach people is to kind of try, this is hard, but to use a somewhat of a matter-of-fact tone instead of getting emotional and yelling, oh, I can't believe you're doing this again. Oh, shoot. I know that that's the limit. And so this is going to be the consequence for this. And it's tough, but we need to stick with this for our family to work well. And so matter of fact, kind of like a robot is what I teach people, but consistency is huge, Robin. You are so right.
Yes. That's what I think a lot of people struggle with is that consistency. It's like it all depends in some
because it's
areas
easier to roll over.
Yes,
It's easy to roll. It's like, oh,
yes.
fine, I'm not going to fight this battle.
Yes,
Fine,
definitely.
they can do whatever, leave their dirty clothes all over the house, or bring weed just this once, or whatever. Talk to me in profane voices. Well, that's my limit, but just this time. After all, they had a bad day. No, we need to be consistent on what the limit is.
Yes, I agree. I agree so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add and let our listeners know?
Oh, no, this was great. You had awesome questions, Robin. No, it was super. It was so fun to talk to you. I guess I would just say there are also some free resources if people want to check out, like, for example, one in particular I kind of like, it's all free. It's a parent's guide to talk to their kids about trauma or PTSD. So it's based on some research that I did a number of years back, but it's a free guide that's on there. If we have any veteran or military personnel that are listening, there are also some free guides to help veteran parents or military parents talk to their kids about deployment. Again, kind of an ongoing thing in our country. So there are a number of free resources on our website, which is seedsofhopebooks.com. So check out our website for some of these free resources. These 2 books we've talked about today, you can see sample chapters, you can read more about it, read more about our background, all that stuff on our website, seedsofhopebooks.com. And our books are available anywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, many libraries carry them. So you can find them most places. We have audiobooks, you can find them whatever you like.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that website's going to be listed in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But other than that, thank you again, Michelle.
Oh,
this has been so lovely.
Oh, Robin, it's been a wonderful conversation. I love your enthusiasm and energy. And I just thank you, Robin, for the opportunity to raise awareness of these often invisible teenagers and family members, that this conversation, I hope if one teenager, if one family member, if one person hears it, it will be a huge success. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And again, listeners, thank you so much. Again, I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. Everyone stay blessed. Again, I'm your host, Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. If you're navigating grief, toxic relationships, trauma, financial pressure, or the slow work of rebuilding after setback piled upon setback, this channel is for you. Our community now spans 118 countries, proof that real stories travel and that healing accelerates when we carry one another. Share your story, lend your voice, and let grace turn pain into purpose. Book your podcast in the link below and share your story. Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good evening, and good night. Stay blessed.